Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm your host. It's Friday. It's the Roundtable. And you know what? It was a little bit of snow this week in Minnesota, but it's nice now. Is that going to happen Sunday night? Will the Gophers travel and bring back a win? So much to talk about, but Anthony Richardson, tap out or tap in? We'll talk about all that and much more coming up next on the Roundtable.
This is the Locked On Sports Minnesota Roundtable, your favorite podcast personalities, along with KARE 11 sports reporters, weighing in on the hottest topics. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, there's a lot going on in Minnesota sports. You got the Minnesota Vikings playing the Colts. You got baseball season over, so people, Twins fans, you can let it go. But I saw a really nice article with a picture of the trophy and the Dodgers players, and it said worth every penny. I don't think the Twins understand what that means, but they just made we spend a lot of money and we won. Twins will never understand that one, but maybe one day, maybe they'll sell to a rich billionaire and he's just going to go out and buy. But we're not talking about that today either, but we got to get locked in on these topics because there's so much, as I said, to talk about. You got football, you got basketball, Timberwolves, Nuggets coming up. But you know what? What are the headlines? What do everybody likes? We got Sam Ekstrom joining us, producer that does it all for Locked On Sports. We got Reggie Wilson from KARE 11, and we got Julia Daniels. If you see her this weekend, people, please don't be scared. She's just in her costume. That is not her normal attire. Don't think that she always dresses like she wants to steal your soul. This is just the weekend for Halloween, people. But she is from KARE 11 as well, and we got to get locked in. So, Sam, what you got for us today?
Yeah, a lot of Vikings Colts talk today, including our FanDuel locks, how to make a buck on Vikings Colts.
And the Timberwolves, a little bit of an up and down start. Couple back-to-back rematches coming up. They had one in the Western Conference Finals rematch, and now they got a semifinals rematch. Rivalry brewing.
And the Gophers are on the road in Illinois this weekend. We'll see how they fare. Our predictions for a team that's doing pretty well right now.
The Illini. Well, we got to talk about this Vikings Colts game. We got some bold predictions, people, because we got to predict this game. There's some numbers we can throw out there. We'll see if these hit, because sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the Vikings win, sometimes they won't. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that's my Dr. Seuss for you people today. That was my rhyme, brought to you by FanDuel. No, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. So make sure you download the Game Time app today, because what time is it?
Game
time.
Well, let's jump into this. So Vikings, Colts, bold prediction. So when I looked at the stats, I'm gonna keep it quick because I'm a little bit annoyed. Offensively, these teams look pretty even when you look at the numbers, and the Colts run the ball better because we know Jonathan Taylor is a running back. Pass yards, not too much difference. Colts overall yards are higher than the Vikings. They're 17th. Vikings are 19th. 325, 326, just call it a wash. 1 yard is nothing. But here's where I'm thrown off. The 26.9 points per game that the Vikings have scored, and the 22 points a game the Colts, again, 5 points. Sam, what is the FanDuel line for the Vikings Colts right now?
Countdown from 6, and I will have it for you.
5, 4, 3,
5.5,
2, and that's why, because 21.9 and 26.9, 5-point difference in their offenses. So we kind of know where Vegas is using. Vegas is not stupid. They're using stats. So everybody's like, why do you always worry about stats when I do the show? Whenever I'm on any pregame show, I love to bring up stats. Why? Because Vegas uses them, and they tend to hit. So 5.5 points. Vikings are favorites, though, right? I hope. I pray.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's down from 7 after Flacco was announced as the starter.
Yeah, and here's the reason why. You look at when Joe Flacco plays. Anthony Richardson, I think, had like a 83.9 passer rating. Then he had a 55 passer rating. Joe Flacco started off the Jags game, and I can't wait to Sunday because I'm doing my play breakdowns. Me and Pete Bursich, I picked 5 plays. It's going to be 5 plays, another 3.5 minutes. The plays run about 2 minutes long, and 2 plays are Anthony Richardson. And Anthony Richardson does absolutely, like, just dumb stuff. It's like he makes plays happen, but it's like, dude, there was another guy wide open over here. Joe Flacco comes in and it looks like an offense. It looks like he's getting the ball out of his hands quick. He's understanding the coverage. He's going to the right receiver. He's hitting first downs. He went 9 for 9 to start the game. He ended up in the first quarter 10 for 11. And so my bold prediction, Joe Flacco is going to throw for over 300 yards. Like Joe Flacco, the way he throws the ball, the way he gets the ball out of his hands, he's going to throw the ball for 300 yards. Shane Steichen wants to throw the ball with Joe Flacco, and when they asked him, did you talk to Anthony Richardson? Weirdly enough, and maybe this was a company line, he said the same thing Anthony Richardson said. He said, well, yeah, but not in so many words. Like, wait, what? So y'all wrote that down and both said it? So they both said the same thing. Yeah, I talked to him, I told him, but not in so many words. I don't know what that means, but clearly, I mean, he did say, I feel like Joe Flacco gives our offense a better chance to win right now. So that's my bold prediction. Joe Flacco over 300 yards. I'm going to go to you next, Sam.
All right. Offensive line carousel a little bit. Cam Robinson is the big trade acquisition of the week. He's going to be your left tackle at some point. We don't know if he's your left tackle on Sunday. He said he doesn't know if he's the left tackle on Sunday. Didn't practice Wednesday. So at most, he'll have 2 practices and then be the Vikings left tackle. However, whether he plays or not, I think the Vikings are on high alert with their pass protection. Sacks have become an issue with Sam Darnold. He's taken too many. I think that the play calling hasn't really put him in great spots to get the ball out quickly at times. I also know that Dalton Risner could make an appearance. We also don't know if he's going to replace Ed Ingram. That I think is also on the table. Because of the situation, losing Christian Darrisaw, everybody's going to be on high alert. Everybody knows that they're going to have to pick up a little bit of slack in pass protection. That applies to all the linemen. That applies to Darnold getting the ball out quicker. That applies to Kevin O'Connell calling up plays that get the ball out quicker. And that applies to tight ends that are in to help blocking. That applies to running backs. Everybody has to do an extra 5%. So as a result, I think with everybody's antenna up in pass protection, I think the Vikings do not allow a sack on Sunday night. I think that Sam Darnold is kept clean the whole game.
Ooh, that's a tough one because, okay, Reggie.
Okay. All right. I was thinking about this. Okay. And hat tip to Emmy Award winning journalist Julia Daniels over here in her story last night. I'm going to say TJ Hawkinson, no restrictions, first game back, 125 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Ooh.
That's my bold prediction. Sunday night, welcome back to the fold, get them going. Just because, like, I think, now with all those guys, and Justin Jefferson even said it, you got to defend him. You got Speedy, you got Free 3, and now you got Hawkinson as well. I think those are just weapons all over the field, and the Colts have shown that they have given up quite a bit of yardage this season. And, one of their better corners, Juju Brents, is on IR. I could just see them taking advantage of that. Sam, you mentioned all the sacks that Sam Darnold has taken. And, when we were at the facility, Juju and JT and I on Wednesday, Kevin O'Connell talked about how, maybe Sam Darnold just has a little bit too much faith in his weapons, and he's taking a couple extra hitches and, holding it a little bit longer just to let routes develop and get the ball out to his weapons. And, now that has resulted in him taking some more hits and taking some more sacks. And now they want to get the ball out of his hands quicker, talking about that whole fast break offense. And he kind of broke that down, what exactly he meant from the time he talked to PA to the time he talked to us. And so I'm interested to see, if Sam can get that back foot in the ground and then get it up the seam to Hawkinson, or maybe they split Hawkinson out wide, or, all these different things that they can do with Hawk being back. I can just see him really getting involved and Sam really getting the ball out of his hands. So, yeah, that's my bold prediction. I think TJ Hawkinson has a big game on Sunday night.
And to your point as well, Reggie, just the way that TJ talked about the relationship that he has with Sam Darnold, was I don't think we've ever heard him really talk about a teammate like that before. He started out his description of Sam Darnold as he's one of the best humans I've ever met in my life. And I think that's really high praise coming from a guy, from a teammate, just in general, especially somebody that you haven't even played a game with yet. So I'm interested to see how that plays out on the field on Sunday. I think my bold prediction is going to be, I'm not going to put a number on it, but I'm going to say a lot less penalties on this defense. My cat's trying to take out the mirror behind me. I think we're going to see a revived defense on Sunday. I think you have a long week like you have, and you have 2 not so great games back to back like that in a total of 4 days. And I think Brian Flores knows how to turn things around. I think that, there wasn't a single sack in that Rams game for the Vikings defense. I think Joe Flacco might need to be a little bit more worried this go around, because I think there's a little bit more motivation here. But Brian Flores said on Tuesday during his presser that he's trying to eliminate the way that they kind of put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole when they're constantly one guy on one play saying, my bad, you guys, or one guy is saying, my bad, you guys. And then it turns into 7 to 10 different plays where everyone's saying my bad and everyone's taking responsibility, but it's not fixing the problems that they have. So I'm going to say, I think we're going to see limited penalties on this Vikings defense on Sunday, and just better communication. I think it's also hard when you don't have Blake Cashman out there, who's also your green dot. So the communication has to be switched up a little bit when you don't have him. Also, just the impact that he makes on the field too. I think now you're going into game 3 without him. So maybe the adjustment, especially coming off a long week of not having him out there potentially, is something that they're maybe a little bit more comfortable with going into Sunday.
Question for the reporters quick. Did the Vikings practice outside or inside yesterday?
Inside.
Is that why Cashman has been DNP? Because they don't want the toe on the turf inside? Is that because I thought he was going to practice for sure, and then he was DNP. But I'm guessing that Ron, you would know this. The turf inside is harder on the feet.
No, so with Cashman, when I talked to him, he said he has a bunch of stuff he has to clear. So there's all these tests they do with his foot before he can be cleared to play. And so in his mind, he's because what a lot of people do is they put a metal plate under that big toe and it doesn't allow it to flex. Well, he's at a position where you need that. And offensive line, you might be able to get away with it a little bit because they can kind of be a little flat-footed on one of their feet, just to if they're let's call it a left tackle, his right foot can be more flat, whereas his left foot has to be the flex foot to push, and the right one can kind of be the anchor. Quarterback, even you can kind of get away with it if your front foot, not your push off back foot, but your front foot is in one, and you're I need my quarterback to play. But linebacker, running back, receiver, turf toe is one of those where you got to be quick and you got to react. So you can't have a foot that can't really push off. And so for him, it's making sure that, because they know this too, at 5-2, they're still a playoff team. They don't want to screw it up to where he's out for the season, because he breaks it even worse, and then they have to cast it up, and then he's out for, whatever that is, 4 to 8 weeks, where this might be a month. If you give it a month, usually it can heal up on its own, and the ligaments can, it's inflamed, it's irritated, and then whatever that ligament is can kind of relax and go back. So once that happens, then they'll let him get out there, but they don't want to rush him out there, because even when he was walking fine. It's a difference to walk and then push off. When you push off, it's just like a hamstring. I always say that. Guys feel fine jogging, running, warming up, but you don't want to make it worse. So I think that's where they're at with him. They don't want to waste him, especially against if you look at the stretch, you talked about this, Sam. This stretch of games is not really worth wasting Blake Cashman. Granted, you did just lose 2, but you lost 2 to good teams. These next, especially the Lions, come on. But these next couple, do we really need to waste Blake Cashman on the 30th ranked defense? No. This offense should be able to put enough points, and the defense should be able to hold on to it.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right.
But, so when we get to the we got to talk about one more thing, though, and we'll do it quick after a word from our sponsors, because I just want to ask everybody really quick about, because when I heard the news, and Sam, we brought this up before, I said, I think Joe Flacco is going to play. I was I don't see the point of Anthony Richardson at this point. I thought they lost hope in him. I said the same thing. I think Thursday I was on the show with you guys, Sam, and I said, you got to fake an injury. Like you got to rip something out your helmet. If you're Anthony Richardson and say, hey, my helmet doesn't work, like concussion, I can't come out here. Like, and then get him out quick, get him a new helmet or do something. Give him a 2-second break, but he didn't do it. So we'll talk about the effect of Anthony Richardson versus Joe Flacco. I got some stats to back it up, and we'll do that after a word from our sponsors.
And we also have our FanDuel locks coming up because this Friday episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When you have a hunch, and we've got some hunches about Sunday night's game. When you have a hunch, you can cash in at FanDuel. If you're a new customer, if you win your first $5 bet, you can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right. Use that instinct to get some free cash at FanDuel. And then you can spread that out however you want on the NBA, NHL, college football, NFL, futures, money lines. There's so many options, every line, every league available at FanDuel. When your first $5 bet wins, get $150 in bonus bets at America's #1 sportsbook. We'll give you our locks momentarily on the Roundtable. FanDuel.com to get started.
Well, Sam, as we jump into this, take it away. What you got? Sorry. Question is, and you're going to do the locks next, but quick question before we go around the horn. Sam, I want you to start this. Mm-hmm. Joe Flacco or Anthony Richardson? Who would you rather face and why?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Richardson you'd rather face he had a stretch where he was 2 for 15 against the Texans last Sunday. He uses his legs, yes, but the inaccuracy just lends itself to turnovers, 3 and outs. Like he's easily flusterable, as we saw with the tap out situation. 44.5% passer in a 6-game stretch this year. That's the worst we've seen in the league since Tim Tebow in 2011. So I certainly would have liked to see the quarterback that you can get under his skin. He's going to throw the ball to you. He's erratic. He's volatile. Joe Flacco, rhythm passer. He's still not afraid to work the ball deep, but he's going to be able to diagnose the blitzes. Almost 40 years old, but still balling. Was good with Cleveland last year. He's been good this year, 7 touchdowns, 1 pick. So I'm significantly more nervous about Flacco. I'm so curious to see whether or not they make this a blitz game. They've been blitzing at about a 50% rate the past several weeks. Will they dial that back in light of what's happened with the pass defense? We'll see. But Richardson would have been a much more appealing prospect for Brian Flores. Now I think it's more of you got to be cautious against Joe Flacco.
Yeah, Reggie, what you think? Flacco, Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, definitely wanted to face Anthony Richardson. And it was funny because I talked to Byron Murphy. I was telling you guys earlier this week, watch out for that one-on-one sit down before Football Night in America on KARE 11 Sunday night. And so he was saying I think the tap out was just not necessarily a good look for a quarterback. You got to stay in there. And then after the game, you can't just tell the media the truth about that one because it's just a bad look. And I think, I was talking to some of my friends in Indy. My mentor is a sports director at Wish TV in Indianapolis. And he was just saying it was probably the right call just because when you tap the helmet like that, you just that kind of sealed it. Like it was hard to win back over the locker room and convince those guys that Anthony Richardson was the best person for the job. From the Colts perspective, my brother works for the Colts, and he was like, yeah, like this was just not a good look. Like it wasn't necessarily botched. It was kind of botched from the Colts perspective, just because this is a guy that you drafted to be the future, and now you've lost patience for the guy. And I understand the nature of the NFL now. There's no patience to work with the guy and develop a guy anymore because these owners are like, look, if you're not winning, you out of here. So it's like these guys are coaching for their lives. And so there's no time to develop a guy who was drafted to be a developmental guy. And so that's a really tough thing that's happening. And my brother was saying a lot of season ticket holders are like, yep, canceling my season ticket membership, tired of the roller coaster at quarterback, because Joe Flacco, He's 40. He's not going to be the long-term answer. But in terms of this week, like, you definitely want Anthony Richardson because, like you said, Ron, he does some really cool things on the field. Like he'll hit you with the 60, 70-yard bomb, but then like he'll drop back and just throw it straight to the defender. And you're like, what were you doing? What were you seeing out there? He's still learning. And so when you got a quarterback back there who took a team to the playoffs last year in Cleveland, and now, you know, he's more competent than Richardson at this point in his career, now you start to worry a little bit if you're a defender.
Yeah, and so when you think about that, like different skill sets. Anthony Richardson, he can run a little bit more. That's kind of how my plays show. Like he the plays break down and he makes a play. But then there's plays that he should just throw the ball and he doesn't. Joe Flacco just plays the game like you see Aaron Rodgers, like you see what's his name we just played, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff. You know, he kind of sits in there like Jalen Hurts. Like he has the ability to just play the game and beat you with his arm, whereas like Anthony Richardson, it's a wild card. But I don't know, Julia, if you had to pick, if you're sitting up here in your B flow and now you have to game plan Flacco, would you rather have to deal with Flacco or would you have to deal with Anthony Richardson?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is Anthony Richardson after what we've seen. You can't put a price on experience, and just the fact that Joe Flacco was almost like the comeback player of the year last year, you know, what he's been able to do in the longevity of his career. Yeah, I would have to say Anthony Richardson. I think to your point, Reggie, it is something that I don't think like the national media, whenever Anthony Richardson came out and said, and was just blatantly honest, which I will say as somebody that is a sports reporter, like we appreciate the honesty, but it's still like, okay, come on. I think all of us would kind of have looked at each other if somebody said that on the Viking squad, but you do lose the locker room when it's like, oh, I'm too tired. Cause I kind of feel like the NFL, when it comes to a quarterback, especially somebody that they are hoping will be the face of the franchise at some point, it's gotta be kind of like the captain of a ship. Like captain goes down with a ship, you know, it's not I'm too tired and this, that, and the other. It's like, you're giving it your all and you're the main one that should be displaying that to everybody, especially your locker room. And so, yeah, I would say from the Vikings perspective, for sure, you would want to see Anthony Richardson because, like you said, Ron, it's easy to get in his head. He's young. And I think Tom Brady was talking about this the other day, how like these young quarterbacks are just not getting developed like they used to. And they're not getting the time before they become the starter to really get ready for the league. And I think that we're seeing that in Anthony Richardson. He's just not ready yet, which is easy for a team, I feel like, to target when it comes to defending him.
Well, for me, when I look at the difference in the two, I agree with all that. I would rather face Anthony Richardson for the mental side of it. Joe Flacco scares me because on first down, and this is the play breakdowns I'm doing. I got Jags first quarter, 1st and 10, first quarter, 1st and 10, and then a 3rd and 6. He goes absolutely bonkers. There's another 1st and 10, but they're like, just keep it to 5 plays if you can, because it's going to be a lot of talking in between. And we know you guys like to stop the film. And when I look at all those 1st and 10 plays, he knows most teams, and that's why I hope Brian Flores is playing 3D chess, because he's got to change it up. Most teams don't blitz. So Joe Flacco passes on first down to get to like 2nd and 2, knowing now you have to worry about the play action. And now I got Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor hadn't even been in a while. And when he came back, it just blew up. And so now you give them a healthy Jonathan Taylor, a smart Joe Flacco who knows, like Shane Steichen was asked yesterday in the presser, and they said, is this the rest of the season quarterback for you with Joe Flacco? He said, yes. As of now, Joe Flacco is playing the rest of the season. I don't want him thinking if he makes a mistake, he's going to be benched for Anthony Richardson. He said, right now, we're going with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco's the starter. And they're like, was that your call, the GM, the owner? He was like, was my call. I'm the head coach, but I made them aware. And then what's his name? Florio was like, if you think that he made the decision without the GM and the owner being okay with it, you guys are dumb. There's no way Shane Steichen has that much control. And I agree with that. I think the owners and the GM both probably saw the light. Like, look, let's just go with Flacco for now. We have him. He's good. But on first down, he's 26.3% of making another first down, which is 4th or 5th in the NFL. So on first down, he's playing to attack. He's playing to get more yards. He's not trying to just hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. And so when you look at the Vikings first down defense, That's what scares me. In the weeks I did it, where you can do week 1 through 3, and then week 4 through 6. 1 through 3 was Anthony Richardson. Richardson gets hurt. 4 through 6 is Joe Flacco. When you look at Joe Flacco versus Anthony Richardson, the yards per play is even 4.8 to 4.2. So it's not a big difference. The biggest difference is the interceptions. 6 for Anthony Richardson in 3 games, 2 for Flacco. In the pass ratio, 126 passes for Flacco, 81 for Richardson. So that's 40 plus passes more that Steichen wants to do with Anthony Richardson compared to Joe Flacco. And so that's where I'm like, you look at this Vikings defense, I think they can stop the run. I don't know if they can stop the pass if they're going to get too tricky. And that's what makes me nervous about this. I thought with Anthony Richardson, they were ready for that because Cam Bynum and Josh Metellus kind of alleviate that Anthony Richardson run play because they spy a lot. And what's his name? Ivan Pace can run sideline to sideline. Where you look at the games Anthony Richardson did well, their middle linebackers weren't as quick. They were more of like hard-nosed hitters, and he was able to get outside of them and they broke contain, and then he would get you 10 to 15 yards. That's the only reason. But now, you know what? Let's talk about the locks in this game because we've talked about all the stuff. We talked about all the offense, the players, the bowl predictions. We know Reggie might have a lock for you with the tight ends. We'll see if he sticks to it. But Sam, take it away. What's the locks?
Yeah, I don't want to steal Reggie's thunder. I was going to go with the TJ Hawkinson feel-good anytime touchdown in his return at plus 220. But I'll let Reggie, I'll tell you right now, Reg, 2 touchdowns for TJ Hawkinson plus 2,200. Bet 10, win 220. Is that what you're going to go with?
Give it to me. Book it. Give it to me. That one, and I also was going to say first touchdown score plus 1,200. TJ Hawkinson. I'll take both. Smash.
Those crossing routes with the tight ends in the red zone. That's the scripted bread and butter.
Absolutely.
Oliver, now it's Hawkinson. I love it. The kind of the block, the chip and then the leak out behind the defense. It works every time.
Although, you can do that with Oliver and Munt. Like they're gonna be a little bit more heightened when TJ's running routes, but it doesn't matter. He's better than their guys.
You know what? If you wanted to do better on that, you should do that anytime first half touchdown score, TJ Hawkinson plus 460.
Anytime first half. Oh.
Yeah, you make more money if you did that.
I like making more. Let's do that one.
Yeah, smash. Yes.
You guys get that? You guys understand that reference?
No.
So enlighten us.
Go ahead and smash that subscribe button.
Who says that?
It's the Costco guys.
Oh, I've never seen that.
We bring the boom.
I've seen the boom thing. I was confused at that too. I was like, what is PJ Fleck and Corey Parrish doing? And then now everybody's doing it and Gronk is doing it. Like, what is going on right now? Julia, what is your lock? Is your lock that one or you got a different
no.
one?
What's my lock? My lock, I had one. Wow, you know what is interesting? This is funny. This is out of left field. They have a tab that says to score 4 or more touchdowns. And there is only one player listed on this tab. Can anybody guess who it is without looking?
4 or more?
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson?
I just looked.
Jonathan Taylor?
Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Plus 15,000.
Smash.
Go ahead and smash that.
I would for sure put $5 on that.
Why not? I just think that's funny. I think it actually speaks to his versatility and the fact that he has stayed healthy for so long and has been able to handle the workload that he's had, considering he had that hip injury or hamstring, whatever they decided to tell us that it was.
I might drive to Iowa just to make that one. $10 get you 1,500.
Yo, if he does that, the Vikings win by like 30 or something.
It's
like
only
that.
An hour and a half drive. It's an hour and a half drive to the
Same.
border. I might make that today.
I just think it's interesting that it's like he's the only one that's listed. I think that says a lot about how the world views Aaron Jones and how he's playing right now.
Previous game, you got to think about it too. When previous Colts games this year, you got to look at what they've been giving up, and they've given up a lot to running backs.
Yeah.
Well, how about Ty Chandler being totally iced out too? He literally didn't get a carry against the Rams, which is interesting.
It was just
Kevin
Jones. He was the only running back that touched the ball.
And
Yeah.
Kevin talked about that because he was asked about Jones' workload. Because the last several years when he's in Green Bay, he's splitting time with AJ Dillon and staying fresh. And he's also had injuries that he's, last year in the first touchdown he scored against the Bears, he pulled up lame with the hammy, so he missed some time. So between some of the injuries and also, splitting time in the backfield, he hasn't had the type of volume that he has with the Vikings. But Kevin O'Connell was like, yeah, that's why we brought him here, though. We believe that he's an elite back. So that would be something if he were to do that, because everybody's been talking about, hey, about his touches. Like, you think you might want to, chill out on some of his workload? And he's, Kevin O'Connell said, like, yeah, we're gonna do a little bit more to try to get Cam Akers involved and Ty. So we'll see if that's true on Sunday night.
Well, listen, when you have him for 1 year, potentially, maybe they'll extend him, but you have him for 1 year. You don't need to necessarily worry about the long-term.
Run him into the ground, huh, Sam?
I mean, I'm just saying.
No
Not a
load
long-term
management over
contract.
there. No load management. Well, I'm going to go with my lock. Speaking of Julia's one, I like the Aaron Jones. I'm going with Aaron Jones scores the first overall touchdown of the game, plus 460. The Colts run defense has given up 152 yards per game, which they're basically in the basement. They're 30th. Their pass game is bad too, 24th. But I just think their run, when you look at the run and you break it down, they're very susceptible to the run and a running back like Aaron Jones, because their DBs don't like to tackle. I mean, their safeties do. Their corners, I don't know what it is, but when you watch them on film, they're not like I see Brian Flores or even PJ Fleck. I hate to go there, but you look at the Gophers DBs, they rally to the ball. They run to the ball. You look at Josh Metellus and Byron Murphy, they rally to shoot those legs out. The Colts DBs are they're like Trayvon Diggs, and nothing against Trayvon Diggs, and I don't know if he made a business decision in that game or what, but some of the things the reporter asks about don't look good. Like, I mean, I think Pierce said that too with the Raiders. Some of his players are making business decisions out there, not wanting to throw their body out there and make a big hit. So it's like playing Derrick Henry. You got to decide right away, do I want this? Do I not want this? And the Colts, for some reason, a lot of games, you see their DBs just kind of do the like Olay, and then they try to grab, or they're not boom trying to meet them at the attack. So I feel like if Aaron Jones gets outside and it's most dangerous man is what the blocking assignment is, receiver will take either safety or corner. I'm taking the safety every time if I'm watching film, and I'm going to say, Aaron, I'm leaving that corner for you, so get ready. He makes them miss, he's out the door, and he does have that top-end speed to go score. So I'm going to go with Aaron Jones first, because I just think the Colts starting offense too, their first quarter offense is not great. But again, this is under Flacco now, so we'll see. But under Anthony Richardson, their first quarter defense was not great overall. And so in the Vikings, vice versa, are the best. Like, their first quarter defense or offense, is one of the best in the NFL. So I'm going to go to Aaron Jones, plus 460. Well, now we got to get to this Gopher Illinois game, because I'm excited about this one too. I did the film breakdown for this one too for the pregame show. And PJ Fleck said something to me in the PJ Fleck show, and I'm not going to jump over the top of PJ, but I'm going to point out that I get PJ's doing the coach speak thing. He's doing, like Reggie sat down with Cam Bynum. And, was it Cam Bynum or Byron Murphy? Byron Murphy. And Reggie sat down with Byron Murphy, and Byron Murphy was kind of giving them like a little bit of player speak, but then a little bit of realness to it. PJ can't do that. He has to be 100% coach at all times, because that thing's going to hit the media, and then people are going to be like, oh, you hear what PJ said? So I'll talk about that. But but Julia, let's get this going. Gophers, Illinois. They win. The question of the day. The Gophers, and in the chat, you guys let us know. Spam the chat with this one. Hashtag the Gophers win. So the hashtag Gophers. So spam the hashtag Gophers. Win if, Julia.
They win if Maxwell Brosmer is playing the game he's been playing the past 3 games.
Can he sing like Maxwell, though? Loving basketball, my favorite movie.
DJ say we've got a DIB, do it better.
Yep. Dibs. Right? Dibs.
I mean, Max is playing
do it better, son.
For the first time in how many years a PJ Fleck team is passing more than they're running?
Ever. Forever.
Ever. Okay.
No. Western Michigan, we had Corey Davis. That was the year.
So
that was
been
the year.
A while.
Yep, it's been a while.
I will say, Brett Bielema is 10-0 versus the Gophers as the head coach.
You don't have to point that out though. You could have
Okay.
left that one in your notebook.
And they're also undefeated at home this year. They're ranked 24th in the nation. I think it'll be a challenge, but I do think that the Gophers can pull it off. Max Brosmer, by just looking at some of his stats, 67 for 89 for 682 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 0 turnovers in the past 3 games. They won all 3 games. 4 of those touchdowns coming last week against Maryland. I just think this is he's proving to be exactly as everyone hyped him up to be, at least at this point in the season. And if he continues with not only the play that he has on the field, but also the leadership skills that he's portrayed too, we're kind of seeing it come to fruition. I think people say a lot of stuff when they come in, and as they should, but it's actually we're seeing it for ourselves that this is working. That's whatever, Max has very specific schedule, down to the minute on game day. He's just kind of like a psychopath about it all. And we're seeing that the way that that's contributing to his success, especially these past 3 games. So yeah, I think the key to the win is to keep Max doing what Max has been doing best. But I think that the Gophers could definitely pull this off on the road. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I definitely think that it's doable.
Sam.
Yeah, I'm going to zig and say that it's all about the rushing game. If you can outrush Illinois, you will win this game, because Illinois is not a good rushing offense. Their top back is 23rd in the Big Ten in yards per carry, which when you think about it, if every that means that multiple teams have 2 better backs than Illinois' top back. They average 4.1 yards per carry, which in college football is not a good number. And they've got some leakiness on their defense. If you look at that Purdue game where they gave up 49 points and somehow won, gave up 7.5 yards per carry, and they've given up 5 or more in 4 games this year. And the Gophers have Darius Taylor. So I think if the Gophers can control the run game, they win this football game 4 in a row for PJ, and suddenly the season's back on. We're talking about a good bowl game if they can finish the season strong.
Reggie.
Yeah, this was, and look, I'll give you your respect, Ron. You never stop believing in your guys, and I respect and admire that. Okay, this stretch that they pulled off mid-season, almost kind of unbelievable. You beat both of the LA teams, and that just seemed to give them some momentum moving forward. And Sam, got to give you your flowers too. You were the only one who predicted that they would win by, did you say 20?
20 plus.
You said 20. And I'm like, I don't know about that. And they came out and outdid that. So, I think they're playing really well right now. And I think they'll give Illinois a game. I think Illinois is strong. I think Brett Bielema is doing some things over in Champaign. But I think this is going to be one of the better games that we've seen from the Gophers this season. I think, Brosmer's playing with a lot of confidence right now. We come a long way from him kind of looking up at the lights like, oh man, these are really bright at this level, to, tossing touchdowns and being on the Davey O'Brien list. This is a different guy that we're seeing. He's playing with a lot of confidence now at the Division I, level. So I'm interested to see how this goes. I think I'm done making predictions on the Gophers because I've been wrong so many times. So I just hope everybody has fun out there.
So I'm asking you guys a quick question with a show of hands. So those on YouTube, you can't see it, but I'll yell out the numbers. So you got 10 fingers, right? So hold up your 10 hands. Hold up your 10 fingers, everybody. 10 fingers. Hold them up. Daniel Jackson scored. And so people, if you're not on YouTube, make sure you go to YouTube, subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota. You're missing the fun. Also, I thought Julia had 6 fingers. I was like, wait, what is that? Okay, you got 2 fingers together. Your 2 middle ones. Yeah, there it is. I was like, wait, why does it look like she has 6 fingers? I was like, is that AI? Julia is AI, people, by the way. She's not a real girl. We AI the video of her. She doesn't really exist. So when people are on her Twitter, you're actually you're DMing.
Only
AI
the cat is real. Julia is
not. Daniel Jackson had 2 touchdowns last week. How many touchdowns do you think he has on the season? Daniel Jackson, the receiver, had 2 touchdowns last week. How many do you think he has on the season? So 5 for Reggie and Julia, 3 for Julia, 5 for Reggie, 2 for Sam. The answer is 3. Julia, you got you win the candy. You win the entire bag of candy. That's weird. Is that not weird? Like when I saw that, I was like, wait, he only has 3 touchdowns this year? That's so weird. Like 51 catches, but only 3 were touchdowns. And so as good as Max Brosmer has been,
that Michigan touchdown counts for like 10 though, right?
True.
I mean, that's
what I'm thinking. Like you see the Michigan touchdown, then you see these 2 last week, and you would assume he's got to at least have 5 or 6, 3. And so it just has not been the success in the end zone. So the Gophers win if Daniel Jackson and Elijah Spencer and Darius Taylor reach the end zone. I think it's going to be key that the ball gets spread around. You watch this Illinois defense, and this, to Julia's point, Brett Bielema is really good at tendencies. Like he looks at the tendency and he knows you're down in distance and he attacks it. Vice versa. PJ Flex says on the PJ Flex show, I said, hey, Luke Ottmeyer has been sacked a lot. A lot of people are saying he needs to get the ball out of his hands quicker. What are your thoughts and how do your defense attack him? And PJ went right to coach speak. Oh, well, if you watch him, that's the benefit of Luke Ottmeyer. He holds the ball just a little bit and he makes that throw. And then you're like, dang it, we almost got him and he made the throw. And then so that's going to happen when he takes the sack because he's trying to make a play. Here's the problem with that. I watched the film and PJ can't do this because this is not his job to do this. It's my job to do this. He holds the ball too long. He tries to find the play, and there's another play wide open. Like there's one against Purdue. Guy runs a middle, like hold the linebacker, Tampa 2, and then he's wide open in the back of the end zone. If Luke Ottmeyer just steps on the back foot, toss to the back before he makes the break, it's a touchdown. There's no safety back there. He holds it because he's waiting for the over route because that's the pretty part of the play. It looks pretty to throw so you got the here, up, and then you got the over. He's waiting for the over because I'm pretty sure that's what coach told him was going to be open, and it's not. Just throw the ball to the open receiver, and I don't think he has great vision. Like, I don't think he sees the whole field because a lot of his plays, he makes them. He definitely makes them, and he doesn't have a lot of interceptions either. Like, he's not going to throw the ball into trouble. And so the Gophers win if on the other side, they force him to throw an interception. You have to force him to throw the ball to somebody that he doesn't see. He has to see ghosts. And so I think the Gophers win if that. Both of those 3 guys need to score. He needs to spread the ball around. And then vice versa. They need to force Luke Ottmeyer to make a mistake and throw an interception because he doesn't. He's willing to throw the ball deep and out of bounds or deep and out of touch. It's either his receiver or nobody else, and he does a great job of that. So Brett Bielema has been successful against the Gophers. But make sure you guys check out our postcast after the game Saturday and Sunday. Vikings postcast. Going to be a little late, people, but stay up with us. We're going to have the champagne popping. We're going to be talking about this game. This is not going to be the Vikings might be up 23, and the Colts are going to try to come back, but it's not going to happen. The Vikings are going to win that game, and then we're going to talk about the Gophers after they win over Illinois, and they're bowl eligible. And now, you know what? Let's get to this. We have to talk about this because as Reggie brought up, is this a new budding rivalry? Reggie, Timberwolves, Nuggets, Friday night?
Yeah, Timberwolves hosting the Nuggets tonight. And funny enough, Vegas has the Wolves as 4.5 point favorites tonight. So I think it's mostly because like the Nuggets just don't look like the same team. I think they're still trying to get the Brody involved, Jamal Murray, even though he signed the extension, like not really sure he's the same guy. But Jokic is still playing like Jokic. Like he's still been incredible. I watched the rough cut of like all these times he was getting the ball and then making the right pass and the guy's just scoring each time just off of his pass. And so he's averaging 31.5 points a game so far, 12 rebounds, 9 steals, like MVP level numbers again, but his talent is just not the same. And so when you talk about like a budding rivalry, I don't know. Maybe I think more of the Timberwolves Mavericks as a budding rivalry. But one thing about those rivalries, one of the teams have to score and win some of those games. So, I think the Timberwolves owe the Mavs one on Christmas. Sorry, my dog is just having a field day back here for some reason.
So you're saying Lakers Celtics is no longer a rivalry? Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh, that's gonna always be a rivalry. And I'm mad that the Celtics got 18, banner 18. The Lakers, your time to respond, okay? But no,
They're gonna have to get rid of Bron and Bronny, and then
don't start. But so
Hey, Bronny scored.
he did. I saw it.
He got his first bucket in the NBA.
And he did it using his dad's patented, look down move.
Did they zoom in on LeBron crying?
Bron did get emotional. He put his shirt over his eyes. But anyway, we're not talking about that, right? See how you just give me sidetracked? You see that? You see that? No, but I know a lot of people have been talking about Anthony Edwards, and he shot 13 threes the last game, and talking about if that's sustainable. They want to see him drive more. Look, if they're winning games, I don't think you're really upset about that. Whether or not he's driving more to the lane and working on the mid-range and all that. But the fact that, they lost the game, now you're like, oh, he's got to put the ball on the floor. And so I'm interested to see what he does against the Nuggets, because he keeps saying, like, look, if it's there, I'm going to take the shot. Like, he's a confident dude in his ability out there. So I'm interested to see how this game goes tonight, and to see if the Wolves can bounce back from that loss, or if the Nuggets figure it out. I know they probably still feel a little something after that Game 7 loss earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Julia.
I mean, it's so early in the season, but I think it's two teams that are still trying to figure out an identity. I think the Wolves most definitely, just from being like a big bully of a defensive kind of team, they're still working out some kinks in that sense, especially with the additions that they made here recently. But the Nuggets too, like you said, Jokic is Jokic still, but I think we've seen slow starts from guys like Jamal Murray, and also, like, that's just kind of how we've seen them start their seasons out in years past. So I don't think what's the question? Is that the Nuggets are a new rival for the Wolves, or
yeah,
what?
basically your thoughts on the Nuggets game. So Friday night tonight they play the Timberwolves Nuggets. Do you think this is their biggest rival right now, or is it the Mavs or the Thunder?
I would say the Nuggets, just because it's been such huge meetings for them in the postseason. I think that there's always a chip on the shoulder for both of these teams in terms of each other. But I think at this point in the season too, it's just like a lot of just figuring out who they are. I think the Nuggets bench isn't performing the way that they probably will be in a few months. So it's just kind of an unidentified kind of game. I think the Wolves could pull this off. I'm trying to look for a bounce back, but I think right now the Nuggets aren't playing their best basketball. Jokic is always playing his best basketball, but I think the Wolves will pull this off tonight. But I would say the Nuggets are probably what I would consider their rival at the moment.
Sam, quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, Nuggets are soul searching right now. If they've played two bad opponents the last two games, and if those bad opponents had made free throws down the stretch, the Nuggets would be 0-4. Miraculous comeback against Toronto, because Toronto screwed it up, and then the same against Brooklyn. They won both those games in overtime, so they're 2-2, but they have not impressed anybody. Here's what to watch for. Karl-Anthony Towns was the best defender against Jokic. Karl-Anthony Towns is gone. So who's going to defend Jokic, who is literally carrying the Nuggets on his broad shoulders right now with some absurd box scores? There's no bench to speak of. It's even worse than last year. And he's getting really no help from the supporting cast. So how are you going to defend Jokic? Rudy's going to have to step up. And Rudy has been punked by the good centers that he's gone against so far this season, the athletic Mavs guys, and then Anthony Davis in game 1 of the season. So Rudy's got to, show up tonight against a legit center, legit opponent. And that's going to be the key to the Wolves getting it done against a team that I think probably is their biggest rival in division. They'll play him 4 times this year, might meet in the playoffs again. I think that this is a big doppelganger kind of game for the Wolves to see kind of where they're at in this division.
Yeah, for me, real quick before we get out of here, I'd say, I don't know. I'm going to go with Mavs. I just think the Mavs right now, I like that matchup. They beat them to go to the final. I know they had already beat the Nuggets, so I feel like the Mavs is a team they haven't beat. So I feel like that to, in their mind, maybe their biggest rival right now. I think, but I like what Reggie said. Yeah, you got to beat them before it becomes a rivalry. The Mavs are like, yeah, we beat y'all. We ain't worried about y'all. So I like all three, though. I think the Timberwolves, Thunder, Mavs, Nuggets, like in the West right now, the West is in good hands, and they got some tough matchups between the four of them. It right now, like even Sam said it, the way they're winning, I don't know if that's sustainable. So they got to get a little bit more, on it. And if the Nuggets blow them out, the Karl-Anthony Towns headlines, Sam, might be big. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Sam Maxstrom. Reggie Wilson is Julia Daniels. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. Make sure you guys subscribe. Smash the button, as Julia would say. Subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. Have a great weekend, people.